Good morning, basketball world. This is the Around the Association podcast, the Thursday edition of the podcast. Today, I think it's November 8th, 2019. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, checking with you on this wonderful Thursday morning, catching you back up on everything in the NBA over the next 15 or so minutes. Check me out on Twitter at Danny, D-A-N-N-Y, number 3 Thompson, and on Facebook, which is on the Around the Association radio page, as well as follow aroundtheassociation.com for everything all NBA and now college basketball related going forward. So, a quick and simple night in the NBA, a lot of big storylines to catch you back up on in the next few minutes. So let's get you started. Well, there was a couple of, on the marquee night, you had, last night, MVP versus MVP. Well, it didn't happen. Kawhi Leonard was held out due to a hip injury, or some want to call it load management, whatever you want to call it. But Giannis Antetokounmpo and the entire team, the entire Milwaukee Bucks team went into LA last night and took care of business over the LA Clippers last night in the late game that was on national TV last night, 129-124. The game was on ESPN last night. Giannis, 38 points, 16 rebounds, 9 assists in the victory for the Bucks last night. And really, the Clippers were shorthanded. Yes, Kawhi Leonard was not in the lineup. And Paul George is now doing 5-on-5 drills with a potential return next week to the lineup. But yet and still, the Clippers are still a very good basketball team. It was really mostly the Bucks doing what they had to do in the fourth quarter. Giannis played the entire fourth quarter, scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. He didn't foul out, was not in foul trouble. He was pretty much everywhere on the court, and also was almost short again of another triple-double. But really what stood out last night was not just Giannis' performance, it was the performance of the bench last night. George Hill and Kyle Korver, two older veterans, combined for 10 made three-pointers and 38 points off the bench last night. That was the key. It was other guys other than Giannis doing the damage for the Bucks last night. Eric Bledsoe had 20 points against his former team. They're going on with 6 rebounds. But really, it was the play of Giannis and then the bench knocking down threes to keep the Bucks in their winning ways. Clippers are now on the season. Last night, in their defense last night, I said they were shorthanded, but Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams combined for 68 points. They were in the starting lineup last night. Pat Beverly had 20 and 10 rebounds, that is. But the Clippers could not get it out, and they head to Portland tonight with Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup. Once again, like I said, Mike Budenholzer was really, really pleased with his entire team last night. Giannis is the first player in league history to score 200 points, have 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in the first 8 games of the season. It's never been done. Just think about that for a second. Like I said, the Clippers will travel on the road to Toronto, to Portland tomorrow night, and they'll be playing with Kawhi Leonard. It was a big controversy about Kawhi Leonard's injury. Some people said it was load management. The Clippers are reporting as a hip injury. The NBA had no issue with it last night. Speaking of injuries last night, the Philadelphia 76ers got a scare last night as Ben Simmons hurt himself last night, running into Royce Neal's shoulder, and it just could not help the Sixers get over the hump. The Utah Jazz took advantage of it, led by Donovan Mitchell's 24 points and 8 rebounds as the Jazz win 106-104 over the Sixers in the open as the Sixers road trip rides down. Sixers have lost 2 games in a row. And the thing was, they got Joel Embiid back, but the Sixers got out-rebounded. One of the best rebounding teams in the NBA. The Jazz out-rebounded them last night, and a lot of those rebounds kept the Jazz, and Jazz out-rebounded them last night by a total of 50-44 last night. 50-42 was actually the rebound margin last night in the game between the two teams. But it was really mostly down the stretch of Donovan Mitchell just taking the game over in big chunks last night. He had a huge fourth quarter, which is another part of why the Jazz are so good. The Jazz are undefeated at home, which is a very interesting stat, and also at the same time will hurt the Sixers. And why the Sixers could not get over the hump last night was the fact of the Sixers had 1 field goal in the final 4 minutes of the game. Great defense by the Sixers. And like I said, even with Joel Embiid getting 27 and 16. Like I said, not having Ben Simmons made a huge, it was a huge defensive liability last night because they had to give guys extended minutes. They're going to do an MRI on Simmons to see if there's any structural damage. But like I said, it was an interesting thing that, it was not interesting, but Simmons didn't play the second half. Like I said, the right shoulder, he ran into a Royce Neal at the end of the first quarter. Simmons finished 2 points and 2 assists in the 10 minutes he did play last night. All right, so we'll catch up around the rest of the league. We'll start with the games from the early part of the session last night. Knicks took care of Pistons 122-102. Tony Snell, First player in NBA history to go perfect from the three-point line by by hitting more than 5 3-pointer attempts. Snow at 6 for 6, and then a perfect 9 for 9 from the field. Andre Drummond, 27 points and 12 rebounds. Pistons are short-handed, but they still beat a Knicks team, with the Pistons not having a lot of their backcourt guys. No Reggie Jackson, no Derrick Rose among others last night. Pistons are now 4-5. Knicks are now 1-7. Pacers took care of the Washington Wizards 121-106 last night. Good news is Pacers got back to minus Sabonis. And also another piece of good news, the Pacers also back to 500 as well too. Doug McDermott had 19 points. Malcolm Brogdon 12 points, 13 rebounds, 13 assists for the Pacers. Bradley Beal led the Wizards with 30 points. Wizards now fall to 2-5. In Chicago. In Atlanta, Chicago took care of business of the Atlanta Hawks 113-93 last night. Good news for Hawks fans that Trae Young didn't play on minute restriction last night. Bad news was Trae Young was 3 of 12 from the shooting from the floor last night. He had 9 points. Tomas Satoransky set a career high 27 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists in the game. Bulls jumped out on the Hawks early. They were up as many as 30-12 in the first quarter, and the Hawks cannot get back into the game. Even though the Bulls have blown more leads, the Bulls actually held on to this one. Out in Toronto last night, Raptors 124-120 over the Kings. The Raptors are now still undefeated at home. Kyle Lowry scored 24 points to lead the way. Pascal Siakam 23 points, 13 rebounds. In a game where the Raptors just kept going. The Kings got as close as many as 4 points down the stretch to get this lead close to the end of the game. Buddy Hield had a chance to get the game down to one possession, missed, and Serge Ibaka got the rebound at the end of the game at that point in time. Fred VanVleet hit some free throws. It was a huge game for Ibaka. Ibaka had 10 of his points in the fourth quarter last night for the Raptors. In Houston, the Rockets lifted off finally 129-112 over the depleted the Golden State Warriors. James Harden, 36 points, 13 assists in the game. Clint Capella, 19 points, 16 rebounds for the Rockets. Really, this game was all about the Rockets just taking off early and keeping this lead. And, the Rockets got up for this one because the Warriors, even though they are shorthanded, are the same team that's knocked them out of the playoffs the last couple of years. It was really a dominating effort from the Rockets all the way around. James Harden is now starting to find his rhythm again. Just think about this. Harden, in his first 6 games of the season, he was 17 of 79 from the 3-point line. Last 2 games, 13 of 32. So he's knocking down 3-pointers. And James Harden has the highest points per game average since Michael Jordan, back in 88-89. Harden's averaging 36.5 points a game on the season, which is 292 points in the first 8 games. Like I said, the highest was Michael Jordan in 88-89. Russell Westbrook fell short of a triple-double, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. And PJ Tucker had 22 points, 11 rebounds. Tucker's been scoring a lot of points lately. At one point, I think he had 3 or 4 straight games over 15 points. He's become a viable option, especially in that 3-point corner. Golden State was led by Alec Burks, who had 28 points in the game. Eric Paschal had another double-double for the Warriors. And finally, the final game, 2 more games left on the schedule. Memphis held on to a 137-121 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves got back Karl Anthony Towns from suspension, but it was too much Dillon Brooks and Ja Morant in the fourth quarter. Those 2 guys went off. Brooks had 31 points, and Ja Morant had 26. But really, it was all of them in the fourth quarter. They both combined to score. It was 30 points in the fourth quarter on 11-17 shooting. It was the Grizzlies' main ability to get the ball to the rim, to keep Karl Anthony Towns off the glass. Towns finished with 25 points and 13 rebounds. But like I said, it was all really what Taylor Jenkins and the entire head coach Taylor Griffin and the entire team and the Grizzlies, what they did defensively against Karl Anthony Towns. Towns didn't have the best of games, and really they tried to let Minnesota do all the damage outside of Karl Anthony Towns. Brandon Clark, 18 points, 8 rebounds off the bench as well too for the Grizzlies. Final game of the night was actually one of the more entertaining games of the night. The Dallas Mavericks hold on to a 107-106 victory over the Orlando Magic. Magic had multiple chances at the end of the game to take the lead. 2 Aaron Gordon charging calls at the end of the game, and Nikola Vucevic missed 3-pointer were the opportunities the Magic had at the end of the game. Now, mind you, both charging calls were very interesting, very controversial, and really, it was awful mistakes from the Mavericks. The Mavericks had 2 turnovers late in the game, including Luka Doncic throwing one away, and it was not. Dallas survived and held on. Doncic 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in the game. Aaron Gordon, for fouling out, had 23 points, but only 21 of those came in the first half. All right, so now you're caught back up on last night's action. Now Thursday, of course, in the NBA is always a shorter night because it is TNT's night, and there's 4 games on the schedule. But before we get to those, who was the stud of the night last night? And so let me give you the stud of the night, and that goes out, and that award goes to my main man. Of course, it's Giannis. 38 points, 16 rebounds, 9 assists. He fell one short of a triple-double. Like I said, first player in NBA history to have 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in the first 8 games of the season. Giannis, even though, like I said, it was the finals preview, it could be a potential one because the Bucks are now 6-2, and the Bucks are expected to win the Eastern Conference. I had them winning it at the beginning of the season as well, too. The Bucks are starting to find the rhythm, especially if George Hill and Kyle Korver start knocking down shots like that. 10 3-pointers combined off the bench, not starting, but off the bench for those 2 guys. If those guys start doing that on a regular basis, this Bucks team is even more dangerous. So, like I said, 4-game schedule on the Thursday night's docket. And Thursday night's matchup is all about homecoming. This is a homecoming for Kemba Walker. The Charlotte Hornets are 4-3. The Boston Celtics are 5-1. But this is more than just a basketball game. It's Kemba Walker's return home. Arguably the greatest Charlotte Hornets of all time will make his return to Charlotte tonight as his Celtics, who are now are streaking, winning a couple games in a row, take on the Hornets, who are coming off a West Coast road trip where they split. Hornets are 4-3, Celtics 5-1. That game's at 8 o'clock. Expect a huge ovation for Kemba Walker in his return back to Charlotte. Thunder and Spurs get together out in San Antonio for a nice little dance at 8:30. Spurs are 4-3. They're playing some up and down basketball against the Thunder team that's been playing out of their minds last couple nights, especially with the victory they had over the Orlando Magic on Tuesday night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chris Paul have really started to figure out and find out how to settle in together. Watch out for the rookie Darius Bazley. The kid Darius Bazley. He's been getting a lot of minutes off the bench. Been putting up big scoring numbers as well too, averaging over 10 points a game in his last couple. Heat and Suns, 2 teams that are over 500. We didn't think that would be interesting. The Suns have knocked off some Eastern Conference, knocked off the Philadelphia 76ers, and they've beaten the LA Clippers at home this season already. Heat are 5-2, still dealing with the road trip, and really the Suns are 5-2 without DeAndre Ayton. Now, if they can continue this middle when Ayton gets back after suspension, the Suns could be even more dangerous. The Heat want to get up and down the floor. Justice Winslow's now back in the lineup. He had 10 points and 6 rebounds in his first game back. It's really interesting to see Kendrick Nunn maybe potentially break out of his shooting slump as well too. I think he's averaged less than 9 points a game in his last 2 games. Final game tonight will be on TNT, Blazers and Clippers. Yes, Kawhi Leonard is in the lineup, so Clipper fans who are headed to the game, you'll see Kawhi Leonard on the second of a back-to-back. Portland has lost, they're 3-4, lost a couple games they should have won. Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum are always going to be up for this matchup. So you have 2 of the best players in the NBA, McCollum and Kawhi Leonard, in the same game. Expect fireworks. So you got yourself caught back up on the NBA last night in about 15 or so minutes. We're glad we got this little time down today. It's been going over for the last few days. Quick update on Ben Simmons. Like I said, he's going to have a reevaluation in Denver on Thursday. They're saying it's a minor AC joint sprain in his right shoulder as well too. Once again, follow me on Twitter at Danny DANNY Thompson 3. So it's Danny DANNY 3 Thompson on Twitter. Follow Around the Association on the Around the Association Facebook page and any place else that you can find Around the Association, including Twitter and all other places stream. Please subscribe to the podcast, which is on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. Will be on iTunes in the very near future. Subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends. It's one of the best things you possibly do, and give it to somebody who loves sports, because guess what? It's free. So we'll check you guys out tomorrow. Like I said, we'll go over the 4 games in the NBA schedule, and we'll catch you up with a busy weekend in the NBA. So this is Danny Thompson from the Association, the podcast. Oh, by the way, check out my power rankings that came out yesterday. This was before the games tipped off last night. You know, it's interesting to see a certain team from Los Angeles at the top of the charts. So we'll catch you guys later for Around the Association. Catch you tomorrow. Peace.